This is a story time about when one of my daughters woke up and one morning and just rushed in my room and was like, Mom, I got to tell you what happened to me last night. And I'm looking like, what? Oh my God, what? What happened to you last night? And she was like, I was in my room and my friend came in through the window and took me to heaven. What? Let's get into it. So one morning, I remember it so vividly, like it was a Sunday morning. One of my daughters came in, and at the time, she was about 7 years old. And she's like, Mom, I got to tell you what happened to me last night. My friend came in and woke me up and took me to heaven. And I'm like, what? What do you, wait. And I said, okay. So then I'm thinking, oh, she just had a dream. She had a dream. And I said, oh, you had a dream last night? And she's like, no, it wasn't a dream. I got to tell you what really happened to me last night. And so me really honestly thinking, oh, she just had a dream. Because when I was younger and I grew up, I had dreams all the time. I mean, 24/7, just dreaming. I could fall asleep for 5 minutes and have a full blown dream, no different than now. But I just had dreams all the time, saw visions, all those things. So I just thought it was pretty much the same thing, that I experienced. So I just really kind of took it for being a dream. But she was just really, insisting it wasn't a dream. And I'm like, okay, listen, we got to get ready for church. So I tell you what, let's all get ready for church, and then you can just tell us on the way to church. And I'm starting to just kind of move around. She's like, Mommy, no, I got to tell you, I got to tell you. And she just like grabbed me one day, Mommy, please, no, I got to tell you. I got to tell you right now. And I'm like, okay. And I really honestly can hear the Lord like, stop what you're doing and listen to what she has to say. Give her your undivided attention and listen to what she has to say. So I'm like, okay, I stop. And so she says, Mommy, um, my friend came into the window. And I said, what do you mean your friend? Who is your friend? She was like, my friend. And I'm like, who is it? Is it somebody? No, not anybody you know from here. It's nobody from here. And I'm like, what do you mean here? It's nobody down here. It's my friend from heaven. So my friend came and I said, well, how did your friend come, into your room? Through the front door? You open the door? No, Mommy. Mommy, my friend came in through the window. And I'm like, you open a window? No, my friend just came through the window. So I'm like, okay. And she says, my friend come in my room. And then my friend woke me up. And then we played in my room. And then my friend said, come on, Kaya, it's time for you to go with me. I'm going to take you to heaven. And so she says, my friend takes me up to heaven. And when I get there, and I said, well, wait a minute. How did you get to heaven? Did you ride in something or did you? No, Mommy, we just went up in the sky and we went to heaven. I said, okay. So then she said, we got to heaven. I said, so what happened when you got there? She said, my friend said, God, Kaya here. And so she said, uh, I said, so where was God? And she said that it was Jesus and that he came from behind this big brown door. And I stopped her, but I interrupted, but I didn't want to prompt her. I wanted to be strictly organic. I wanted her experience what she saw. But I'm like, I kind of wanted to see where she was kind of going with it. And I'm like, well, what did Jesus look like? What did God look like? She was like, oh, well, Mommy, you can't see it. It's just space. It's just too much light. I'm like, okay. Well, did you see anybody else you know, or anybody you knew? And she says, yeah. I said, well, who? I saw Uncle Derek. Well, Uncle Derek is my brother who had passed away 2 years prior at the age of 34 unexpectedly. And so I was really devastated by his passing, of course. And just I couldn't believe it. And she's like, Uncle Derek. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, I said, well, what was he doing? And she says, oh, he was really happy. He was smiling. He was walking like this. And then she was imitating the way he would walk. So it's a distinctive thing he used to do when he walked. And she was imitating that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, did you see anybody else, And she says, yeah. I said, well, who? She said, you know that lady that used to open a door at the church? And I'm like, open the door to church? What lady? Well, you know that lady, I can't remember her name. The one that used to open the door to church. And I just was like baffled. And and then it hit me. I said, wait a minute. Are you talking about Aunt Mariella? And she says, yes. Yeah, that's the lady that will open the door and say, praise the Lord. Yeah, her. I saw her. Well, my aunt had passed away just a year prior. So my brother and my aunt passed away within a year or two, so it was almost kind of like back to back almost. So they passed away within 2 years of one another. So it was really hard. It was devastating. And also when it came to my aunt, I had spoken to my aunt one Sunday night, just prior to what happened to her. And we were talk about how we were going to go to this conference that was out of state. And we were going to go and we talked about it. And she was like, well, I'm going to get back with you tomorrow and I'll call you. I said, you can call me. I'll be at work, but you can call me. She said, yes. I said, definitely call me. Okay. So she was supposed to call me the next day, but she didn't. And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought maybe she got busy and, just, we'll talk to her later. But unfortunately, when I got home from work, I found out that she had uh, got rushed to the hospital. And unfortunately, she lived a few days, but she did not make it. And she passed away. So it was another unexpected thing. And so it was hard. It was a lot. It was very, very hard. And so uh, I'm just like, wow. So she's like, yeah, I saw her in heaven. We played a lot of games. I played a lot of games with her. They were really fun. Now, the ironic thing about that is that my aunt was known for loving to play games, especially with kids, like really liking to play games. And then, however, it was something that I wouldn't have told my daughter because back when my mom and dad were, they were married, my aunt and my older siblings had more of a relationship where they were close and play games and did those type of things. But I didn't have that experience with her. And so that wasn't something that I would have shared with my daughter. But I heard that from my other older siblings that my aunt loved playing games. My daughter also went on to say that my aunt gave her candy. And she was like, it was the best candy she had ever tasted. It didn't taste like anything she'd ever tasted. And, the thing about that was that my aunt, as heard from my older siblings, loved candy, always had candy. And that was something else, that I didn't really experience with her, but heard from them. So that's not something that I would have even passed on to my daughter. So at any rate, I said, well, what kind of candy and what kind of games? And my daughter is like, Mommy, um, you wouldn't understand. They're not earth games, they're heaven games. They're only games for heaven. And I can tell that she was starting to get really frustrated with me, not when it came to her experience, but when it came to me not being able to understand or relate to her experience because she's thinking, you're an adult, you should know this. Because, of course, she's a child at the time. She's about 7 years old. So she doesn't understand that what she's experiencing is completely rare, it's extremely rare. And so I'm like, okay, So she's like, yeah, well, you can't play those games here. You can't eat that candy here. It's only for heaven. So then I said, well, what else happened? And she's like, well, my friend, which of course I realized was her guardian angel, my friend came and said, well, Kaya, it's time to go. And she said, God, said to her, are you good? And she was like, yes. And then he reiterated to her, Kaya, are you good? And she said, yes. And he says, Kaya, you got to be good so that you can come back here. And she said, okay. I said, and then what happened? And she's like, well, my friend brought me back down. We went back through the sky, and my friend brought me back down, and we came in through the window. My friend played with me for a little while until I went to sleep, and then my friend left and went back out the window. And I said, wow. It just really blessed me that God would allow her to experience that and to come back and tell me about it. And I just love how God is so intentional, especially when it comes to children, because children are not going to try to make sense out of it. They're not going to try to humanize that experience. Children are not going to try to do any of that. They are just going to say, hey, this is what happened. They believe God. They walk by faith, and that's just it. And just for giving me a piece and, of where my brother is and where, my auntie is. And so I just thank God for that, because he doesn't have to tell us anything, you know, because once, we pass on from this life, whether we go to heaven or hell, it's nothing you can do about it. I'm just glad that God sent her back with that experience to comfort my heart. And it's something I will never, ever forget.